find a real estate platform that aligns everyone in the entire company financially by making us real estate agents owners. So when the average agent wins, everyone wins. That's the secret to success. And when you surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurial people who absolutely love what they do, they love serving people, they love God and life, and you put yourself in an environment of high energy, high producing, positive people every day, you can't help but succeed in business and life. We are changing the real estate industry and changing real estate agents' lives. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. Today, I'm super excited to be introducing one of my business partners, Jacqui BOWMAN from Kent, Ohio, which is just south of Cleveland. Hi, Jacqui. Thanks for coming today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Andre.
Let me just give our listeners just a quick background, a little bit of bio of the rock star agent that we have here. Jacqui has a passion for helping agents see themselves and their business differently. She's a life coach, a business coach. She coaches some of the top solo and icon agents around the country. She's been licensed since 2004 and doubled her real estate business during 2008, 9, and 10. And we all know what those years were like if you were in real estate back then. She currently leads an EXP real estate organization of over 400 agents with one of the highest production per agent ratios in the company. That's a big deal. She's also served as the chairwoman for 2020 and 2021 in the EXP Agent Advisory Council. So she's a big giver. And I know her motto is bigger isn't better, better is better. So she's known for that. So thanks, Jacqui, again for joining us today. And we'll jump right in. I think you might. Yeah, there you go.
I'm good. I'm good. Yep.
Tell us a little bit of your background. Tell us your story, Jacqui.
Yeah, my story is, licensed since 2004. And before I was a realtor, I was a preschool teacher. So I know that there's plenty of people who have been a teacher before they were a realtor. And I think, that quality in us is that we truly care about other people understanding and those types of things. So got into real estate, loved it. Did really well out of the gate because I didn't consider myself a salesperson. It was more about helping, figuring out the code to real estate and then helping all of my family and friends so they didn't have to be scared if I was telling the truth or, that kind of thing. So that really did well for me because people are like, I don't feel like you're selling me anything. Like if the house is bad, you're not going to let me buy it. I'm like, exactly. Right. So it wasn't about the sale. It was more about helping people. And what that grew into was I needed leverage and I grew a small team, hired an admin. And what I realized was I could start coaching and teaching agents to sell and do it the same way. So I filled my bucket again by teaching agents. And so my door was always the door of like, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? Like, this is my first contract. I'm like, oh yeah, you got this, and I would help them out. So that's kind of how I grew in the real estate business. But I think one of the things that I love is I love that whole feeling like I'm the underdog, right? A 2-year associate's degree of college I paid for myself by working 4 jobs to be a preschool teacher and to understand that this industry is the only industry you can get into for under $3,000. It's a lot of hard work, but you can make 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, and the sky is the limit for us as entrepreneurs. And it's that whole thing about freedom. It's what you put in is what you're going to get out. So that's what I love. And if I can do this, you can do this is my attitude with it. So I just love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, your background as a teacher and you're still teaching as a coach. So you're definitely in your element. That's awesome. I just want to thank everyone again for joining us today. Shout out to Ben. Ben's always jumping on. He's from Spain, so that's pretty cool. Mina, Ricky, Sarah, Billy, thanks for jumping on. If you guys have any questions for Jacqui, just put them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and ask her any questions that you would like. I know one of the things we said we'd want to talk about, you mentioned what are the 5 top things or 5 secrets that people can make in any real estate market. So we want to, at some point share some of those, but let's get a little bit deeper into your real estate, story. So, what company did you start out, in the beginning? And you said you started a team. Let's dig into that just a little bit more and get a little bit more of your real estate, your background and where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. When I started back in 2004, I started at a company called Prudential Real Estate, which, if you remember The Rock, the insurance company, Prudential, they became Berkshire Hathaway years later, but it was just more of a small family-owned brokerage. I was there a couple months. You guys will like this story. And then I decided to help a top agent, and she wanted to partner with me. And what I didn't realize is partnering meant she wanted me to be her assistant. Yeah, that's not going to work for me. Right. So after that lasted a couple months, and I just felt like, people say if an agent is switching companies, the problem must be them. Right. And what I can say is within my first 6 or 7 years of the business, I had switched companies 5 times.
Wow.
I feel like it was because I was the new agent that didn't know better. And because I lay all my cards on the table, I don't play poker well. I don't want to say I was taken advantage of, but until I heard, I'm like, oh, well, the business is coming to me for me. Like Berkshire Hathaway isn't bringing me the business. This mom and pop brokerage I was at for 3 years, the most I could get there was a 50-50. And, they weren't bringing me the business. It was already, 2008, 2009. And I'm like, are you sure you can't give me more than 50-50? He's like, no, I can't. And out of 80 agents, I was the number 5 agent in his brokerage.
Wow.
And so I left there and went to Keller Williams, because as a single mom with 2 kids, going from 50-50 to 70-30 is a big deal. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So moved from there to KW. And I was the first agent in our county to go to KW. And it was like, oh, she's going to have to enter in her own listings. She's going to have to do so much work. She'll be back. Right. Like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And, no disrespect. I mean, that was just the model at the time. So, anyway, so I've been to several brokerages. So if you're thinking of switching brokerages and you're like, man, what are people going to think? I've switched brokerages 3 times in the past 24 months. The only people that are going to think are your colleagues, and they're not the ones that are feeding your family. And they're the colleagues typically that are the ones that are afraid of change, and they're afraid for what other people are going to think of them. And your family and friends are not thinking it. It's just your competitors. So it's okay. Yeah. So I did become in 2009 a manager of a Keller Williams office. Okay. That office had about 150 agents. And honestly, that was the best education I could have ever gotten in real estate, solving all of those problems during a really tough market. I mean, we had agents getting their cars repoed and their houses, were in danger because they all banked on what they were making 3 years prior.
Right.
And so that was really tough, but I couldn't have paid for that education. And God actually gave me that opportunity as a single mom in a tough real estate market, where even though I was doing well, I was scared. And direct deposit every 2 weeks looked amazing. So that was the only time I'd been on a W-2 since I was 20. Wow. But that was a really good experience for me as well. So I've been to most all of the models, never been to RE/MAX. So I can't tell you anything about that. But it's
that's pretty inspiring. Single mom, 2 kids, going through the toughest market there was back then. And we're going through, I don't think it's as bad, but it's a tough market again now. And so why did you make a move to EXP? I mean, were you looking to make a move? Did a friend reach out to you? How did all that work out? And what was the top 2 things that made you really take a look?
Sure. And I think the way I came to EXP is probably the way that I've had success in recruiting myself. We all think about how we were recruited in, and we typically emulate that, or we are a reflection of that. And as a manager of Keller Williams, I did that from 2009 to 2012 and was a productivity coach there. David Best was actually the operating principal of that market center. And he saw the model and saw this blink moment of EXP changing the industry. and being an industry disruptor. And he got really quickly that he did own a Blockbuster, and Netflix is here and Netflix will take over, right? And so he was selling his ownership in KW, and he reached out to me and he said that I was one of the best partners that he ever worked with. And so this was in 2016, 2017. So it's a good 5 years later. And when we parted ways, it was really good. You know, he's like, well, you can leave, but you just have to replace yourself. That's okay. You're not going anywhere until you replace yourself, you know? So he was so funny. But, you know, so when he called, I met with him, and he showed me the avatar thing. He really didn't know what he was presenting, we'll be honest. And he said, you know, I'm going to open this in Ohio, and I want you to do this with me. And I was like, well, he said, I'm not sure what you're throwing down, but I am in, because I took a management and coaching position with another company and I was just miserable. That's all I have to say. And I was like, it's the right time. And I trusted him. So to be honest with you, Andre, I didn't understand the model when I came. What I understood was David Best was taking a leap of faith and selling his ownership in a company that was doing really well. I mean, he had over 200 agents in his market center. It was profitable. And if he was willing to do that, and I trusted him, I told my husband, I'm like, well, we're going to move. And if this doesn't work out, like KW or Remax, they'll buy us. So we'll be fine. Like, let's just go try it. And so it's really, there's, you know, no risk except for your ego of like, you're joining a virtual company with no offices, and we're the first agents in Ohio. So nobody knew what EXP was. So it was very scary. But that's where opportunity is, right?
That's right.
So if you're ever talking to somebody and they're like, well, there's no EXP presence around here, I'm like, well, that's a great thing, you know, because then you're first to market. So yeah,
huge opportunity. So so how many years ago was that you joined EXP?
March of 2017. So that would have been 6 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So and obviously we know it's going well. Over 400 business partners that you currently have. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that journey of the last 5 years. How's it been, especially since you were taking a leap of faith and knew really nothing about it? What did you learn along the way?
Well, what was funny is the first 4 months we were here, we came over with like 6 agents that just naturally followed us. We did not have a team at the time. It was my husband and I. And by the way, I did remarry, so I do have a husband. I remarried in 2010. But you know, we came over and we had a few newer agents that showed houses for us and did our contract to close and things. And we had a loose team, and they followed us, you know, over. And so it was probably 3 months in, and we were getting a deposit in our bank account for like $930. And I'm like, well, what is this? And it was the revenue share. But the biggest mistake I made coming to EXP was thinking that revenue share was going to be the same as Keller Williams profit share, because that was the language that we spoke.
Right.
And so the biggest mistake was not understanding that it's 15, 20, 25 times literally what we were getting at Keller Williams. And so, you know, after 4 months, it was like $930. The next month was $1,150. And we're like, oh my gosh. Right. And obviously we have to say the disclaimer, like, we're not allowed to share numbers. Like if you come over in 6 months, you're going to be making $1,100. Like that might not be true. Right. So, but what was happening was I was like, wow, I should probably look at this and understand the model. Right. And so once I understood the model and understood the potential, then we started bringing people over into our front line, and that just continued to grow. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I got a friend, well, he's a friend now. I attracted a guy from Maine who attracted a guy from Keller Williams as well. He was with KW for I think 8 years, Gary Wilson. And Gary had at his 8 years at KW, I think he attracted like 75 agents.
Wow.
And he did the same thing when he moved over to EXP in 2 years. But he told me just a few weeks back that the difference between the revenue share at EXP compared to the profit share, thank you, at KW was 26 times bigger.
26 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So you hit it right on the mark where you said, you know, it's in that range. So yeah, it is a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. And there's so many variables in that. That's why we
Sure.
can't really give the exact number, because some market centers had no profit and some market centers had a lot of profit, right? So just depending on how many you've attracted. But I would say that was the biggest mistake, right? Is that I was just thinking it was the same, right? And I think a lot of agents that come from there think that same thing. And what I always say is that, and David Best will say the same thing. We loved KW. We loved the leadership at KW. We loved the structure of KW. We loved everything about it. And to know that they just took that model and honestly tweaked a few things to make it better for the agent, because there are no franchise owners, right? When you don't have franchise owners to serve, the model naturally is going to become better to agents. And so with that being said, that's where all the surprises came in and the love for EXP. So it's been pretty amazing for sure.
And I know you're, entrenched into the model now and serving, as chairwoman of the advisory council. I mean, that's a big deal. What are some of the things that you can share about, being in the inner workings? And I know you being on the running the chair of that, you're the voice basically for, 75 now, 87,000 agents directly to, leadership, to Glenn Sanford and this Jason Guessing, et cetera, right? Tell us, what did you learn in that process?
So full transparency, I was in 20 and 21. So there's a 2-year service there. So I'm no longer there.
Right.
But doing that, I mean, if anybody's interested in that, definitely raise your hand and apply, because what it does is it's just basically a council that leadership, whether it's marketing or it's about EXPCon or any of our events, or they want feedback from agents. We are the agent voice, and they try to make sure that they do a group of agents. Like, some are top producers, some are agents that have been in the business 2 years, some are from Ohio, some are from California, right? They want to make sure that it's, a diverse group geographically, and all sorts of things that come into play there, to have a good snapshot representation of the agents when they look for advice on things as leadership. And then obviously, if there's anything in the trenches where agents are working going on, that is a way to filter up to leadership of like, hey, we have a concern over here and we don't really have time for the NPS survey. Like, this is a big deal now. And so that's really the purpose of it, is really the voice of the agent. But what I learned while I was there was truly how transparent our leadership is. And I think, as we continue to grow, it's always going to be a struggle of EXP becoming very corporate, and everything has to be streamlined. And if it doesn't fit into this box, it doesn't happen. And then the contrast to that is Glenn saying we are agent obsessed, right? And so experiencing both ends of that, there are a lot of decisions that were made that I'm like, yes, you know what? From an agent standpoint, at first bluff, that doesn't sound like it's good for the agent. However, in the long term, for us to be sustainable, in the long term, for everything to be fair, right? In the long term, for us to protect the financials of this company and the longevity of this company, this is the right decision. And as an agent, I want them to make that decision. And so learning to look at things instead of the me, looking at things at a big picture. That's what I would want agents to look at. The first bluff sometimes is like, oh, why are they doing that? Right. But it's really to think about, well, why would they do that at 90,000 agents? It's because they're preparing us for 400,000 agents. Right. So just kind of looking at things differently. Yeah.
And the growth has been pretty crazy. I mean, how many agents were in EXP when you started 5 years ago?
2,600.
2,600 in the entire company.
Yeah, 2,600. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think we were the 43rd state. So there were still 7 states to open after ours. So it was very early on. And honestly, that is, other than, being first to market, that's a huge opportunity. I think I love the fact that I do have a relationship with Glenn. I have a relationship with Jason, being the pioneers in Ohio, like that. that gets you some good conversations, right? So it's been a great journey. And I think, back to your original question with my sponsor, I mean, I didn't really know the model, and I partnered with David because I trusted him. And so that's a lot of what I coach agents on when they're looking to attract agents is how can you, Andre, be the value to
Right.
an agent? How can that agent feel better partnered with Andre than not?
Right.
And so there's a succession. I have trouble saying that word sometimes, succession in your value proposition, right? It's first, it's us, the sponsor, being partnered with my sponsor. I'm a better person. I'm better in business. I know I can rely on them. The second one would be partnered with their group, right? Their revenue share organization brings another layer of value. And then I don't want to say this in a negative way, but if we keep EXP as the last value proposition and we don't lead with that, our agents that we bring with us are going to stick and they're going to be productive. And so I train agents in that succession of value proposition. And I think that's why we have a higher producing group, because we are based on value, we're based on relationship and actually caring if they're hitting their goals, those kind of things. So, but there's no right or wrong answer. I
Right.
think there's so many different ways to grow your real estate business. And I think a lot of people are emulating that as a reflection of who they are when they do that in agent attraction. So I was always a relationship-based agent, doing about 70 transactions a year, relationship-based.
Right.
I would never do funnels. I'd never do Zillow clicks. Like I'm just not that person. Did I hinder my growth? Maybe. But that was just not my style. Whereas I brought that into my agent attraction world. So I'm just linking up with people who are doing it the same way I am. And our group's dynamics just look different than the mega teams who, use YLOPO and use all of the Google click work,
Sure.
and they're recruiting a different way, but they're both successful. Just like in real estate, we're all successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's dozens of different ways of how to build your real estate business, your brand, your organization. You just got to do what's true and right for yourself,
right.
and be true to yourself, and take care of your clients and take care of your business partners like your own family, and that's what they really become. So yeah, that
Absolutely.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Tell us real quick, how has, financially, and how has your life changed, from where you are and where you are now? Because I know you're tuned in here from Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
not in Ohio today. You're in your home in Puerto Rico. But share a little bit of that background.
I'm working on my tan, that's for sure. No, no, that's a great question. And my life and Ryan, our lives have completely changed. And this is where I love being vulnerable and fully transparent with people about how this can actually change your life. When David Best approached me in 2017, my daughter was in 10th grade, 11th grade. It was either 10th or 11th grade. And I had about $5,000 saved for her college. And I was like in panic mode, like, okay, I really need to get on this, right? Like, this is really insane. Like, I don't have this. Is so irresponsible of me as a mom, right? And just having all that fear, we didn't have a whole lot of savings, right? And I wouldn't say we were living paycheck to paycheck, but it wasn't great. Okay. And by 2019, 2020, to realize that 1 month of my revenue share could pay for her entire semester of college, that was it. I mean, and so in 2020, one of our July month would pay for her entire college, her room and board and everything for 1 year.
Wow.
And so to lift that burden and not even realize, like when we joined, we had no idea what we were joining. We had no idea that this would happen, right? Fast forward to April of 21, we were visiting friends in Puerto Rico down here in Palmas, Gene and Susan Frederick. They said, hey, anytime you want to come visit, come. I'm like, well, don't say that too loud. I mean, like we're loose friends. We're not like besties, but I'm going to come to Puerto Rico if you invite me. Like, this is going to happen. So Ryan and I go and we visit, and Susan and Gene are like, you should just buy a place here. Like, property value, this is not a mistake. Property values are going to go up. There's 30 people in this community, EXP. And I'm like, no, this is not the right time. My son is a senior in high school. My daughter is in college in Michigan. Like, I'm a mom. I'm not moving to Puerto Rico. Like, y'all are nuts. Like, this is great. And no, and anyway, before we left, we looked at one place, made an offer on it, and bought it. And it was one of those things where I was like, even if we sell this thing in 12 months, this is not a mistake, right? And we would have never been able to do that if we weren't networked with people that are achieving at higher levels of freedom than we ever imagined for ourselves. Networking with people who are willing to take risks, and following in their footsteps, but also looking you in the eyes and believing in you and telling you to just take the risk, right? And I think surrounding yourself with other people in this company, like I said before, I've been at so many other companies where they're like, oh, Jacqui, you have the it factor and you're so talented and you're going to crush it, right? But they're not taking you under their wing and saying, hey, Jacqui, like, I know this is scary and I believe in you. Just do this. And they push you into these situations where you're like, this is an amazing life. Like, absolutely. Like, so now we own a place here in Puerto Rico, and never in a million years in 2017, when joining EXP, would have ever thought we would be here. And it's just been so cool. So amazing.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I 100% agree with you. When you surround yourself with other people, especially at a lot higher levels than yourselves, they just pull you up, and like you said, take you under their wing and stretch you to be the people that we can be, right? And
right.
It's pretty amazing that the same has happened to me. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I want to make one more comment on that. I don't know if any of you've heard the term imposter syndrome, right? And some of us are like, oh, I've heard that. But when you feel like you're at a dinner table with 12 people and you feel like you're the only person that probably doesn't belong there, or you're in a mastermind where you're like, okay, all these people clearly know what they're doing and I have no idea. Like, I don't know how I got in this room, but somehow I got in this room. If that's how you continuously feel, that's exactly where you need to be. There's so many people that I don't want to say weasel themselves into the room, right? But like that is really what you need to do. Sometimes maybe you can't afford a $3,000 ticket. If you have enough conversations, I know John Kitchens taught me this. There's always a back door. There's always a side door. You don't have to wait in line and pay full price sometimes to get into the front door. And it's not about cheating or stealing or anything like that. I'm not telling you to, go steal a wristband to get into EXPCon. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that the people that are achieving at a high level, when they feel how hungry you are, you will get in the room. And people that are successful in where you are looking to go, when they see you're hungry, it fills their bucket to give you a hand up. Not many of those people are going to give a handout. There's a difference between a handout and a hand up.
Yeah.
So if that's you feeling uncomfortable in the room, stay in those rooms. On the flip side to that, if you're in a room and no one is inspiring you or challenging you to feel like an imposter, you're probably the leader. And you need to not get out of that room, but maybe for every 10 meetings you have, only one is pulling people up, and you're going to 9 that people are pulling you up. Because if not, you're going to get stagnant.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with helping people, but don't do it to feed your ego all the time or you'll stay stagnant. That's where I get challenged sometimes.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. So
Cool.
the 5 secrets of success in any market that we had advertised a little bit. Tell us some of your 5 secrets.
Sure. So the first one, and this is just kind of I could rename this as a quick snapshot on my specialty and what I coach in as well.
Okay.
And it's really success in any business, any market, and in life in general. So the 5 secrets to success, the first one, if you're writing this down, is clarity. I love helping agents get to clarity and going backwards and figuring out exactly what we are doing. Because if you line 10 real estate agents up on a stage, they all net 250,000 a year or whatever number you want to put on your goal, right? Every single one is going to do it differently, right? 3 of them are going to hold open houses. The other 7 are going to tell you it's a complete waste of time. 4 of them will actually have their KV Core website set up. The other 6 won't, right? 2 of them are going to call for sale by owners. The others 8 are not. 7 of them will be marketing to their database and doing sphere-based business. 3 of them will not. 4 of them will be spending $20,000 a month on Zillow, right? They're all over the board.
Right.
But here's the thing is if the 3 agents that are not, or the 7 agents that are not doing open houses are hitting all of their goals, they're not feeling guilty about not doing the open houses. They're not feeling, the ones that aren't, buying internet leads from Zillow, but they're hitting all of their goals. They're not feeling guilty. Like, oh, I wonder if I should do that. I wonder if I could be better if I just did what they're doing. Right. And so I think helping agents realize that we're going to learn all of these different ways to succeed in real estate, but we have to get clear on who we are, what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we like, what we don't like, and what is going to get us our best return on investment based on who we are. And if that's in alignment with our personality, our soul, or whatever, right? It's in alignment with who we are. And so the first thing would be get clarity. And so I tell agents to just do a quick exercise of what's working in my life, what's working in my business, and then what has fruited the most closings in the past 3 years. If you've been in the business a while, you're going to take that. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it was an open house lead, or, oh, it was an internet lead, or, oh, it was Sphere, right? But what I'm saying is I want you to peel back the onion like 3 or 4 layers. And this is the biggest question when you're analyzing where you got your business from, or you're analyzing your ROI, return on investment. This is the question. What behaviors did I do to cause that person to click? Or what behavior did I do to cause that person to refer me if it was a Sphere, right?
Okay.
Or if it was an open house lead, what behavior did I do to get that listing in order to hold that house open? Was it that I asked other agents every single week for their listings? Or was it because someone in my sphere referred me to my Aunt Sue, who I listed her house, right? And so really peeling back and saying, hey, what behaviors am I already doing that is working, right? Because a lot of times when I do intake and I coach someone for the first time, they're spending all this money on Zillow, or they're doing something. And I say, well, what do you think gets you the most leads? And they think it's one thing, but in reality, it's actually something else. So, I always say, hey, let's get clear and let's get clarity on what's working, right?
Awesome.
And what's the best ROI. So then once you get what's working, how can you triple down or double down on those 1, 2, or 3 things? Because you see, the people that are all netting the 250 a year and hitting their goals, or 500 or whatever that is, they're not doing all 10 things most of the time. They are doing 2 or 3 at a mastery level. And so that's how what we can do is ask ourselves, okay, if these are already working and I'm already familiar here, and if I look at my behaviors with open houses and I give myself a 3 out of a 10 on doing open houses, but it's working, how can I get to a 5 out of 10 in the next 6 months? How can I get to an 8 out of 10 in the next 12 months when it comes to open houses, right? And so really thinking about and getting clarity on how I'm personally going to succeed. Because the 10 people on stage, no one gave them a manual. What they did is they created their own plan. They believed in themselves and they executed on how they were going to create a business. So if Andre asks me as a coach, Jacqui, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'd rather teach Andre how to get clarity on who he is and build something and then go all in on mastery on it instead of trying to make him become me.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that's how you have longevity, and you're gonna continue doing it because you're good at it, you like it, it's part of your personality, and then you can just build on top of that instead of trying to do what somebody else is doing. Makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So number one is clarity. Number two is practice and winning mindset. And one of the things that helped me early on was I didn't have a plan B. Long story short, preschool teacher, I did home childcare actually, because I was always an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, there's 35 3-year-olds in this class. All their parents are paying $130 a week. I only make $10 an hour. Like, this doesn't seem right. And so I opened a preschool in my home and became an entrepreneur. But anyway, long story short, when I came into the business, my first marriage, my husband didn't like that, me being out of the house and all those things. And I was just going to help a top agent, go just to get me out of the house. And then I fell in love with the industry. So became divorced and was a single mom in the industry. And now my entire family thought I was crazy because I closed my in-home preschool so that I could send my children to daycare, so that I could go pretend I was a realtor. Like, this is real story. And so when I say practice a winning mindset, I had no plan B because I had to prove them wrong. Right.
Mm.
And so I think getting into the mindset where, I didn't have a plan. Well, if real estate doesn't work, then I'm going to go get a job at Target, or I'm going to go work for this insurance company as an admin, like that, or I'm going to work for this school as a teacher. Like, I never had a plan B. And so I know my good friend Albie Stasic, he always says, burn the boats, right? It's like, you have to mentally burn the boats. And so practicing a winning mindset, the first thing I would say is you can't have a plan B. You can supplement plan A. I just had a conversation with an agent yesterday. She's struggling financially and she thinks she needs to get a job, which is fine. And I told her, I said, here's the deal. I don't want you to get a job that is going to take your energy and mindset away from you growing your plan A. I'm okay with you supplementing plan A, but I'm definitely not good with you going from plan A to plan B, because that's a totally different decision, right?
Right.
Then working at Starbucks, listening to music, talking to people, being a barista. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't have any thought, no offense to baristas, but you're not working in a job to where you're taking care of other people's problems and you're exhausting your energy and mindset growing someone else's business. You're actually clocking in and clocking out to cover your mortgage and cover your car payment. Does that make sense? And so practicing and winning mindset, have no plan B, stick to plan A, right? And then, just getting into messy action and realizing that making decisions quicker over precision. So I always say decision over precision. You got to get into it and just take action. So that's number two, practicing a winning mindset. And obviously it's hanging around with people that have vision and goals. We have to have vision and goals, right? Mm-hmm. Millionaires, they look at their vision probably every day, right? Are we looking at it every day, every month, every week, or just once a year when you do your business plan? Or do you think that's foo-foo and don't do it at all? I can promise you the winning people that have a winning mindset, they're looking at their vision all the time, right? So that's what we need to do. Number three is have integrity with your time management. Have integrity with your time management. I have to lead myself first, then lead my family, and then lead my business. And I think just upholding that integrity and not overextending ourselves, right? If I don't call for sale by owners now, and then tomorrow I say I'm going to call 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's like me not running now and saying I'm going to run a marathon by Friday, right? Like, it's just, but we tend to do that as drivers, right? We're like, we can do it all, right? So just having more integrity with time management and leaning into things. I love the 12-week year book. If you don't have the 12-week year book by Brian Moran, it's amazing. And it's just planning out every 12 weeks, having a 12-week year instead of a 12-month year. So I love that. And then number 4 is increasing my skill set. So we talked a little bit under number 1 of getting clarity on what we're doing.
Okay.
And if we're ranking ourselves a 3 out of a 10 on open houses, and we just want to get to a 4 out of 10 in the next 6 weeks, what are all the things we could do to increase our skill set, increase our resources in that area? So, as we go into a new market, I think learning the scripting at listing appointments to getting it priced right? We're going to have
that's important.
We don't want to have price improvements, right, as we go through this market. So finding people who've been through a tough market and going through that and learning that new skill set is huge. And then finding new resources to make sure that those 1, 2, or 3 things that we have clarity on, that we're focusing on, that we're surrounding ourselves with resources and increasing our skill set in those. And last but not least is create or join a winning tribe. Sometimes people are like, I'm out here on an island, I'm by myself. And it's like, well, then you can create a tribe of people that you want to be like-minded with, or you can join a winning tribe. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about is, in this company, I mean, I told you at the beginning, I've been to many companies. There are people that talk a good game, that are successful. And then there are people that are super successful that just take you under their arm and say, we want you to win too. Right. Not, hey, look at you, I believe you can win. It's, let me help you win. It's definitely a different feeling. And so that's where I would say, whatever you're doing, whatever industry you're in, making sure that you are always hanging out with people that want to partner with you and help you win. So those are my 5 things. That's
awesome. Well, I was taking some notes as well, and I'm sure our listeners were too. Yeah. So that was gold. Thank you, Jacqui.
You're
last couple of quick questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's your 5-year plan?
My 5-year vision. I see myself still growing and leading in the revenue share organization space at EXP. I see myself coaching at a high level. Right now, I'm dabbling into couples coaching. I feel like there's a lot of female women drivers out there that have husbands that are in the industry, and sometimes we're not the nicest to them. I'm just going to be real. We need their support, right? And even when they're super supportive, there's just a lot of dynamics there when there's a female that's a driver. So I'm dabbling into that a little bit. I'm getting DISC certified through Dr. Abelson. So I'm kind of going down that road as a passion zone. But I think leading people, and then, to be honest, I've got a lot of agents reaching out to me that say, now that my organization is 22 agents or 18 agents, I'm feeling like I'm being put in a leader position, and I want to increase my skill set and do what you do. And so I think there's a little bit of a need for that. And so I think just helping others, again, with that imposter syndrome of like, Andre, you are a leader. Look at all the things you're already doing. You don't have to have anybody else validate you as a leader. You're already a leader. Right. You have to believe you're a leader. And what do you think you need to increase on your skill set wise, right, to get you there? So I just feel like helping and developing other leaders within our industry to do things they never thought they could do, probably.
And it's fun too. I mean, it's really rewarding too when you can, help push someone or lead someone and they get to the next level in their life and business, personally and business wise, because you've helped, stretch them a little bit. So yeah. It's really rewarding when you see that change in people.
It is. What one of our agents that came over with us the first day in 2017, mid-20s, now they're 30-ish, bought some land with their stock, building a home, and it brings me to tears to just see what has happened in their lives because of this company, and to just be a small part of that. They worked hard. They've been icon 4 years in a row. It's their work, but it's this platform. And so it just brings tears to my eyes, and to watch them grow as leaders. It's been really rewarding, just amazing. So
you have a little, a different way that you joined EXP? You didn't really know much about it. You just had a friend that you really trusted and saw, well, hey, he was making the move because of what he's seen. But what would you say to someone that they're and you were looked like you were looking too. You were looking for the next phase of life. But what would you say to someone that they're happy? They're happy, they're comfortable, their business is good, and they're just not open-minded to even take a look. What do you say to someone like that might be listening?
Yeah, being in the industry for 18 years, what I can say is that it's funny because I'm almost like saying the opposite of what I just said in the clarity thing. But when it comes to brokerages, I think you should always have a plan B brokerage. Because when you work for another brokerage or you're even partnered with somebody else, and everything is good, that can all change within a 24-hour period of time over one deal or one, and so not only that, that would be the scarcity mindset reason to find out about EXP. But I think in the abundant mindset reason would be because it's so important to know what is going on in your industry. And not only that, but hear it from the source, right? My friend Jean brings up this example all the time that if I'm looking to, learn about the Tesla just to learn about Tesla because I'm interested in like battery powered instead of gas because it's going to maybe become the future, right? I'm not going to go to Ford and read an article that Ford posted about Tesla. I'm going to read an article that Tesla posted about Tesla. Does that make sense? And so I think what we have is we have a lot of agents in the industry that are happy where they're at, which is great. And they're not looking to make a move, which is great. But if you have the opportunity to look at EXP just so you understand what is out there and what your option B could look like, I think it'll change things for you. And at the very least, if you're partnered, especially with a broker you love, like what I hear a lot is I'm loyal to my broker. I've worked with him or her for 13 years. What it can do is it can help you bring ideas back to that brokerage that you can help that broker be more competitive, right? There's really no harm in meeting with someone. Everybody thinks, well, if I look at EXP, it means I'm unhappy. Or if I look at EXP, Andre's going to think I'm ready to switch brokerages and he's never going to leave me alone, right? But I really don't think that's the case, right? So that's what I would say is that, you never know when that relationship will change. Because you never know. Sometimes there's a lot of personal things going on with that other partner or broker or company that you can't see. And they might change something. And instead of you going along with it, you're going to need to have that plan B. But again, from that abundance mindset, just knowing what's out there and being a professional in your industry and knowing the competition is always a good idea.
Yeah, that's good advice. Good advice. Well, I always close out, Jacqui, by asking you. You did give us one book, the 12-week year, so that's cool. Yeah. I always ask, if you're a book reader, what's your all-time favorite book you want to recommend, or a movie watcher, what's your all-time favorite movie?
Yes. Okay. So my all-time favorite book has always been Tim Grover. Now I can't think of the name of it. Oh my gosh. I can't think of the name of it because I replaced it with The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. So, yeah, it's just.
Yeah, The Power of One More. I've heard about that.
I
haven't what. Yeah.
Speaks right to my heart, right? Of just doing that one more thing for somebody else or that one more thing for yourself. And when you habitually repeat that mindset over and over and over again, how much more you accomplish in 12 weeks or a year or, and not only for yourself, but the thumbprint or footprint that you put into the world. Everybody's looking to do something with purpose, or they want to change lives, or, they want to make sure that they are meaningful to others. And I just think The Power of One More is such a powerful, powerful book. And Ed Mylett's the newest up and coming, motivational speaker, but he is amazing. He's amazing. So speaking my language for sure.
Well, I really enjoyed our conversation today, Jacqui. It was great to get to know you a little bit more. I'm looking forward to seeing you at one of our next live events. I mean, I know
Absolutely.
I've learned a lot more about you personally and your business, which is really cool because we've only seen each other at conferences and of course been on a bunch of Zooms together. So it's been a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us at the Financial Freedom Forever podcast, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andre. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you, Jacqui.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Listen to what our business partners are saying about our FFF group.
What I like best about the Financial Freedom Forever group is that we have a diverse network of high-level producers that mastermind and share best practices to help improve each other's businesses. And the network has become such a close-knit group with such a tight culture that you just won't find anywhere else.
The Financial Freedom Forever group's been absolutely amazing. The training, the coaching, spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching in the past, and I've gotten more out of the last year and a half than I've gotten out of all of that.
I believe if you surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing 10, 15, 20 times more than me and you put together, we all bring each other up and bring our businesses to the next level and our lives. To learn more about how to partner with us, go to partnerwithandre.com or click the link below. And let's have a conversation.